Okay, so I'm driving to work. That's why this video is so dark. But I was having a thought that I saw one of my friends had posted on Facebook saying, do you feel the stress, or it's stressful being black right now? And so I look at it as, it's like you either choose to be a part of what's going on or you choose not to be a part. That's just it. But if you choose to be a part, there is stress. There is stress that comes along with the awareness and the consciousness, and not even just that, but still feeling like there's something that needs to be spoken out about or against. And so, yeah, it is a little stressful. And so my thing is, I feel that the stress on my agreement with what she was saying is basically, how do you go throughout the day? How do you go every day? I mean, in society where we've been making it, it's just now that we're actually as a whole and as a nation, I guess, paying attention to what's going on. But I mean, black people have been struggling for a long time, and there are people who have been making it, and so it's not all a system to hold back everybody. It's just that you have to fight a little harder for what you want sometimes, depending on what you want. And if you have been one to get caught up in maybe not taking the right road through life, getting caught up in the system or whatever, reform, getting back into society is harder. And so, yes, those are things that are definite. But if you're that person who, you went to school, you got your lesson, you did what you had to do, you got your degree, you got you a good job, got you a family, got you a good life basically going for you. You don't have to deal with it so much, but there are still people who are of a higher class who still deal with it every day. But sometimes, depending on what type of job you got or what type of life you're leading, you have more to fall back on. Like, okay, you might have somebody who's racist or treats you differently, not more so racist, but just somebody who treats you a little different. I don't know. I guess I categorize racism. Like, sometimes when you just look at racism, like, there are people who truly are just straight up prejudiced. They don't like you because of your skin color. But then there are some people who maybe because of you being African American, they have lower expectations of you. And so when you are exceeding those expectations, you are a threat to them. So they tend to treat you differently. I don't completely classify that as racism, I guess, but it's more so somebody who's threatened by you. And a lot of times, I mean, it can be somebody within your same race still treating you that way, because I mean, some people, I mean, we can admit it too, because I mean, we black and we understand that there are black people who look at other black people and say, you should be less than me. You know what I'm saying? And so people who have to deal with that on a different scale, when they have more to fall back on, they have a better income, their life is set up more to I guess foster, I mean, what is it, the better parts of life overshadow those things, then they don't have to deal with it with such a dynamic as somebody who's already struggling, and they get treated differently because of who they are and where they come from daily, so I would separate those people. But yet and still, the main point is me saying the stress that you have to deal with is because at this point, how do you go through your everyday life and not be angry? And not angry as far as like you feeling angry like they treated us, they had us as slaves and they brought us to this country, and then they treat us indifferent. Not angry like that, but just how do you not become that angry person who is like all of this stuff has been happening for so long. You've been keeping it bottled up inside, and now that it's becoming a mainstream topic, you feel comfortable to actually express yourself about it. But your expression is like years and years of hurt. It's years and years of really oppression, years and years of dealing with, all these isolated situations that made you feel like crap. But you kind of had to swallow it and deal with it because you had a life to live. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to swallow and deal with being treated indifferently because you was at work, you know what I'm saying, or you was at your child's school, or you was in the supermarket or whatever. You had to deal with whatever situation that made you feel inferior and swallow it and keep on going. And so now that it's a main topic, all of those situations are coming up. And you remember them all. You remember how they made you feel. And you remember, seeing different things that, were on the news a long time ago that, they're just not that huge of a big deal. They were not that big of a deal back then, but now they're putting everything together, and it's like making a really big, they got a soapbox for it. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we all can remember isolated situations from over the years that, racial discrimination has been the driving force of a situation. It just wasn't such a big topic, or it's always been that thing that we sweep under the rug. And so we remember all those things now, and how do you keep from being that angry person, that angry black person who feels now that your emotions are being given attention, because they do. I think that's the central feeling of it all. You feel angry, and I think more so the anger comes from the fact that we know that we still don't have a say-so. We're not in control. There is some extent of power that we don't have. And so the anger is not solely because of what's happening, but it's due to the fact that there is nothing really set in place to keep it from happening, And so that's where a lot of the anger comes from as well, And quite frankly, I don't think that there's anything that they can put in place that wouldn't cause a situation with any other ethnic or racial group, or it would, if they put too many things in place for just say a certain class of people, or to be diversity training and all of this stuff. But if they did too much, then they would have to cater to too many different people. So that I think there are some things that they can do to say, we'll put this in place, but it more so affects African Americans, but we're going to make it general. And I think that's kind of where the All Lives Matter come from too, because it's like, okay, we want to spin this and say that we need to be more aware of humanity, or just people as a whole, you know what I'm saying, treating people better, understanding that the killing, the senseless killing and violence needs to stop as a whole. But the fact that they can make it general, it still is going to affect a great amount of African Americans, because that's who it's happening to the most. So I think it's a spin on it, but I think it's a political spin. I think it's a really political spin, but that's what it is. It's like welfare. Anytime welfare comes up, we automatically think African Americans, but we have to understand that African Americans are not the only people on welfare. But anything that's done with welfare is gonna affect the African American community to a great extent, because so many of African Americans are on it. So I think that's how they kind of spin it. But my thing is, how do you keep going every day and not feel, like parents always would tell us as growing up, you're black, you're beautiful, you're bold, you're brilliant, but it's like, has it always been a lie? In actuality, have we never really had that power? And so how do you address the power that you don't have and still yet stay empowered?